So, if you're aiming for an IIM in 2026, you've probably noticed the rulebook has been totally torn up. Seriously, the old system is gone, and what we're left with is this new, kind of complex landscape. Today, we're going to decode one of the biggest changes out there, the Joint Admissions Process, or JAP. Let's get you a map. And look, if you're feeling a bit lost in this new admissions maze, that is completely understandable. For years, right, aspirants knew the drill with the Common Admission Process, CAP. But now, some IIMs are leaving CAP to create new systems like JAP, others are going completely solo. It really does feel like the whole rulebook's been rewritten overnight. But don't you worry, you are absolutely in the right place. Think of this as your personal map, your GPS to navigate this new terrain. We're going to make sense of all these changes, step by step, so you know exactly which path is the right one for you. Okay, so before we dive deep into JAP, let's first zoom out and get a bird's eye view of the entire landscape. Because to really understand where you're going, you got to see all the roads available, right? First up, we've got our main topic today, JAP, the Joint Admission Process. This is the big new player on the scene, a single, unified pathway for a very specific group of IIMs. Then there's the one we all know, CAP. Now, it still exists, don't get me wrong, but it's a much smaller group these days. So if you're targeting schools like IIM Bodh Gaya or Jammu, this is still the path you're going to be on. And finally, to complete the picture, you've got other routes. There's something called SAP. That's mainly for candidates who just missed the main CAP cutoffs. And then there's a whole bunch of IIMs, think Udaipur, Rohtak, that are now running their own totally independent admission processes. Yeah, the system is definitely way more fragmented than it used to be. And here it is, the new map, all in one place. On the left, you've got the JAP schools. In the middle, the new, smaller CAP group. And over on the right, some of those IIMs going their own way. Seriously, feel free to pause here and find your target schools. This, right here, is your new landscape. All right, so now that we have the lay of the land, let's zoom in. We're going to put CAP and those other paths on the back burner for a bit and focus entirely on the main event. What exactly is JAP 2026? So who's in the JAP Club? Well, for the 2026 cycle, it's a cohort of 4 IIMs, Raipur, Kashipur, Ranchi, and Tier 2 Pali. And just so you know, for this year, IIM Raipur is the one coordinating the whole thing, managing the process for all 4 of them. But why the change? What's the point? Well, the goal is pretty simple, simplification. Instead of the absolute chaos of juggling multiple applications and multiple interviews for each of these schools, JAP creates one single, streamlined path. We're talking one application, one interview process for 4 awesome institutions. Okay, so you know what it is and who's involved, but how does it actually work for you, the applicant? Let's get into your playbook and break down the nuts and bolts. The process is actually pretty straightforward, which is nice. But there is one step you absolutely cannot miss. After the CAT results are out, if you're eligible, you'll get an email invite to register online for JIP. Let me say that again. This step is mandatory. If you miss that email or that deadline, you are out of the race for all 4 of these IIMs. It's a deal breaker. Only once you're registered do they even begin creating the shortlist for the common personal interview. But hold on, before you even start prepping for that interview, you have to get the invitation to register in the first place. And that brings us to the very first gatekeeper, the minimum CAT percentile cutoffs. So the big question is, do you clear the bar? Okay, for the general category, the first big number you need to remember is 90. That's the minimum overall CAT percentile you need just to get the invitation to register. That's the first hurdle, and yeah, it's a high one. But hitting an overall 90 isn't enough. There's another number you have to hit, 75. You have to score at least the 75th percentile in each of the 3 sections, VARC, DILR, and QA. This is so important because a single weak section can totally knock you out of the running, even if you have a fantastic overall score. Okay, and this next part is maybe the most crucial piece of advice I can give you. Just meeting these minimums does not guarantee you a PI call. It just gets you the link to register. Why? Think about it. Thousands of applicants will clear these minimums. The real competition is for those limited interview slots, which means the actual final cutoffs could be way, way higher. All right, let's talk about another thing that always causes confusion, work experience. The JEP policy here is super clear, so listen up. They are only looking for full-time, paid experience that you got after you graduated. That's it. So any internships you did before graduation? Nope, doesn't count. Part-time or unpaid gigs? Also a no. It has to be full-time and paid post-graduation. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground. The new map, the process, the cutoffs. Now let's pull it all together and focus on the absolute must-dos, the critical takeaways you cannot afford to forget. So here's your final checklist. Number 1, you had to have opted for these specific IIMs in your CAT application. If you didn't, sorry, but JAP is not an option. Number 2, when that registration email lands in your inbox, you must complete it. Your CAT score by itself does nothing. And number 3, remember that the common part of the process ends after the interview. After that, each of the 4 IIMs creates its own final merit list. So it's one interview, but you could get 4 totally different outcomes. And this really gets to the heart of why they made this change in the first place. At the end of the day, it's designed to make the whole MBA admissions experience better for you guys, the candidates. It's about offering a much more simplified and unified journey to get into some really fantastic business schools. So yeah, the whole IIM admissions landscape has definitely gotten more complex, there's no doubt about it, but it's not impossible to navigate. Now that you have a clear map of JAP, CAP, and all those independent routes, you're equipped to make really smart choices. The map is in your hands. The only question left is, where will your journey take you?